You there, Christian? Let's go with the we can only re-elect Donald Trump quote. We'll do that right out of the intro. Unless Brendan calls an audible.
No, that's fine.
Turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get re-elected. We cannot win this re-election. Excuse me. We can only re-elect Donald Trump.
Attaboy.
Hey.
Attaboy Joe. He's come around.
Yeah, Joe speaks the truth.
He really does.
Yes.
Speaks from the heart.
Yes, he does. He's
Donna Brazil,
a man of compassion.
I didn't realize that till Donna Brazil told us this morning. But you didn't see that Fox interview.
No,
it was very engaging.
Yes, that was the black on black invitation.
Yeah, Biden, come on up to D.C. For a black on black one-on-one. Who knew he was black? Huh?
Well, there is such a thing as the black Irish. Maybe he's onto something.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought about that.
And I want to assure our listeners that the CDC has given us permission to broadcast the show today.
And I just washed my hands.
Okay.
Does that count?
Yeah, that counts.
Okay.
All right.
Because you're supposed to wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds.
Right.
Warm water.
You sing happy birthday to me twice to know how long you have to go.
Not 18 seconds, not 19 seconds.
No, 20 seconds.
The government understands these things.
Yes. And, so anyway, Biden did win big. He took Michigan. How did Bernie get? He got North Dakota. Did he get Washington State?
He's currently ahead in Washington State.
Okay, they're still counting?
They're still counting up there.
So what else did he get besides North Dakota? Here, somebody said he got two states.
Well, that would be the second one.
All right, if he gets that one.
If he gets Washington.
Yeah. Okay. And
but I don't think that should surprise anybody.
No, of course not. If he can't win Washington State, then but the thing is, there's two things you can take away from this, and for sure, and that is that a lot of the white working class people that voted for Bernie in 2016 were really voting against Hillary.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. Yeah. And he's turned up with more votes currently in the primary than she got. Mm-hmm. Even infirmed as he is.
Okay.
It's hard to imagine.
Yes.
That's how disdainful and distrustful the Democratic left is to the other candidates that were on stage with them.
Of course.
With him.
Yes. And, of course, they're not going to let Tulsi into the final debate, even though she won one or two delegates. I hear different things how many she won. Because she would eviscerate Biden about the war.
Oh, absolutely. On so many issues. Uh-huh. They'd agree on the economy. Mm-hmm. Domestic economy, and they disagree on everything else.
Right. So all these candidates that were whining and all these pundits about they didn't have a woman of color left after Elizabeth Warren, all they had to do was endorse Tulsi and they would have a woman of color in the race.
So much for their diversity.
Yes.
Well, I heard a reporter, and I can't think of her name offhand, and I think she's kind of new to the scene, actually. I don't think I'd seen her before, but she claims that the reason that it looked so surprising to everyone, and by that I mean the media, because they were the ones surprised by Biden's success. We weren't here talking to Truth to Power. But in the close nature of the Iowa caucus and New Hampshire primaries, where people had a chance to get up close and personal with Biden, is where they decided they weren't going to vote for him.
Right.
But in South Carolina and these other states, they haven't met him.
No. They had an endorsement from someone they had probably met.
Yep.
Senator Clyburn.
And so that's why he took off out of South Carolina, was because nobody, other than Clyburn, there really wasn't any support for Bernie in the early primary voting in the caucus state of Iowa or in the primary state of New Hampshire.
Right. But so Biden wasn't, he in Iowa was where he called the voter fat. Yesterday he called voter a dumb you know.
He really knows how to get votes, doesn't he?
Yes, I know. And they're saying he's feisty like Trump, but Trump never went after the voters. He went after the media and the politicians.
It's no matter what he says now, he's got his lineup of people who are there to defend him.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to put him in the basement for the rest of the year, it looks like. They want to shut down the debate this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Clyburn and Carville want to shut down that debate because they don't want to expose the American people to his infirmity. Mm-hmm. Well, I can understand that.
Yes.
But you can't just shut off a primary. Who are these people? Aren't they amazing?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Just who are these people, you know? And, you know, a lot of pundits were reflecting that the youth did not actually vote for Bernie and that they're Twitter warriors, but they
didn't.
They were too interested in watching the final show on The Bachelorette.
But they never do vote. You know?
I know.
The young are always the least likely to come out. There's nothing new there.
But there are these stories of long lines and people getting discouraged from voting in Bernie favorite areas like the Rio Grande.
Right.
And now in school students in Michigan were supposedly gave up on voting because of the long lines. So.
But one thing is for sure, when Carville comes out of the woodwork or out of his hole, wherever he is, he's there for a reason. And where was Carville until just, a month ago? Nowhere to be seen.
No.
So he's there on someone's behest. Mm-hmm. And it's Hillary. That's who he's out there for.
Yes.
But, of course, it doesn't get discussed.
No.
Nobody wants to touch it.
No.
Or barely touch it.
Right.
But clearly that's his only avenue to the Oval Office, is to defeat Trump and put Hillary as his vice presidential running mate so that if anything should happen, she's there to, take over.
I know.
He's
already saying it's going to be a woman.
And he's already selected some of his cabinet members.
Oh gosh, I know.
So these are the people and these are the people he has defeated in the primary season. So he wants them out on
plus John Kerry.
Yeah, plus Kerry. And he wants all these people out there instead of himself because he can't take a question. Mm-hmm. So they'll put him in the basement or the attic or whatever they do with an infirm presidential candidate. We've never been here before.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson had his stroke while he was in office for the last year or two of his term, right? And we all know, or it's suspected, that his wife took over.
And Edward Mandell House.
Edward Mandell House.
Who was the CFR elite who was controlling the administration.
Right, yes. So those two took over, and we've got Joe Biden ready to go. Or maybe it's his sister, I can't remember.
Did I say he was a colonel? Edward Mandell House was a
colonel. A lieutenant colonel?
And also a member of the CFR.
Destination Midtown. Experience the difference. Reno's.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
So you're arguably the candidate with the greatest advantage in this race. You've been the vice president. You weren't burdened down by the impeachment trials. In the participation. So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national election?
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't.
He was a caucus.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a little bit confusing in Iowa. Number one. But let's assume everything was exactly right in Iowa. The idea that you come in with about half the delegates that the leaders come in with in Iowa does not necessarily say how you're going to win Pennsylvania.
Did he say Pennsylvania?
I thought he did, but
put a T on it. See, and I've noticed about his delivery. It seems like when he's talking it's sort of in close terms with someone, interview-like. and his emotional context is very low, he's okay. He can communicate reasonably well. It's when he gets into that emotional,
when he gets flustered,
step up,
yeah,
he really loses it. And that, I think, is his.
When he gets challenged on his presumptions, like when the Detroit worker said that that he doesn't support the Second Amendment, he just blew up at him.
Yeah,
I know, and
he's a gun owner.
Oh yeah, he's a gun owner, and Hunter's a gun owner,
and he's got A14s.
No, he likes shotguns. They got shotguns in his family, and they hunt.
And some reporter this morning said, "Well, that makes me feel better because I've got a bunch of A13s." I don't know, people. This is going to be quite a campaign. This is really amazing to watch.
But it was good to see someone that articulate, like that young worker
in that crowd. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, he hit the nail on the head. You don't know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. You're going after a weapon that is used in less than 4% of crimes, the assault rifle, and you're saying nothing about handguns because the Supreme Court has already ruled that handguns can be. They are a self-protection instrument, and there is no Supreme Court, nothing in the Supreme Court rule. Yeah, it talks about reasonable regulations, but it also talks about how guns that are in common use are not to be excluded. Mm-hmm. So, I know he's unfortunately, this is the type of if we have a restoration of the Obama Blue Empire back in, I mean, it'll be good for Iran relations, maybe, but it is not going to be very good for relations with Russia, and it's not going to be very good for the domestic economy and for our freedoms
and the elites of the domestic.
Yes, yeah, they will have it well off.
Yeah,
yes,
that's what he's really setting up. It's not about me; it's all about Hillary and on down, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole crew. Mm-hmm. Yes, Larry Summers and
as we talked about briefly on the show a few weeks ago, the ideal here is if you can defeat Trump, and that's what they have to do first before any of this can possibly happen.
Right.
I mean, he can put anybody on his running mate slot, but he has to win against Trump before any of this takes effect. So it is a very interesting dynamic that we're experiencing here for the 25th Amendment or any of these latter parts of this discussion for it to take place.
Yeah, the 25th Amendment, folks, is because they tried to use that against Trump and say Trump was incoherent or whatever. And now we have a real-life case where the candidate for the president is people are worrying about not just his physical health like it was with Hillary, but his mental acuity and his ability to string more than 2 or 3 sentences together.
I think if the elites were, to be honest, if they were here with our microphones, they would explain that the 25th Amendment was sort of a catch-all for any kind of a difficult situation they might face in the future. It began with the opportunity to bring Nelson to the Oval Office without an election of the people. It worked for Vice President.
You mean Nelson Rockefeller?
It started with President Ford and Rockefeller as his running mate, because remember, they got Spiro Agnew on a bribery charge. They could have gotten anybody on a bribery charge. They just wanted the seat vacated so they could put these people in without a vote of the people. It was very, very intrigue-like and interesting to watch. Well, now they have a chance to use it again, and that's what's up their sleeve.
Right. But we're the greatest democracy in the world. How can we accuse people of doing these things behind the scenes?
Well, why did we need any amendment past 10?
Yeah,
I mean, Madison said we didn't need the first 10.
Right.
So all the mischief is after 10, and it's clearly revealing itself now.
Yes, and so, so we've got Bernie and Biden going to debate on Sunday night, and
not if Carville and Clyburn,
unless they pull the plug on it.
Yeah, What do you think? What's your bet here? Are they going to be able to pull this off?
If they pull the plug, the Bernie bros are going to go crazy.
Yeah, definitely, but. That they don't.
Where can they go?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the syndrome. Where can they go?
Yeah. Can they sell them on Biden, much less Hillary? You know, I mean, how can they? Where do they go?
Yeah, I know. I don't know whether they'll go green or they'll just stay home. That could be the case. It is, 30% of the electorate. They keep saying he doesn't have a higher ceiling, but that's still a big chunk to turn to say I'm not even going to go home. Yeah, I'm just going to go home. So it'll be very interesting to see what will happen, whether they pull off this debate and whether Bernie will take the kid gloves off, because, a lot of people on the progressive people that have been, we're seeing some of them on Tucker's show now, like, Jimmy Dore, and Crystal Ball and some of these others. And they've been criticizing Bernie for not being aggressive enough and not going after Biden, personally, and he just won't do it. He keeps saying, my good friend Joe Biden, he's not corrupt. I know he's not corrupt, and I'm not going to go there about his mental acuity, So
he said just as much this morning on the way in. I was listening to it on satellite, and he was effectively telegraphing his questions in advance.
He was, yeah.
This is what we're going to ask you, Joe. Are you going to be ready for this?
Doesn't need Donna Brazile then.
Yeah, apparently not.
Feed him the questions.
And I was thinking to myself, why is he giving away the questions, several days in advance of the debate? So it's clearly that he doesn't expect Biden to be able to respond. And it's designed to make him look bad on national television. So that's what the American people have to decide about in that party.
And so we'll see if Biden is up to it. But a lot of the things, the progressive left, and I love them because they're against the war and they're usually for civil
liberties. Well, not
liberties.
Anymore.
What do you mean?
Now they're anti-Russia and they'd go to war with anybody at this point. Once upon a time they were anti-war.
Not the people I'm talking about, not the Jimmy Dores and the Crystal Balls, and the rest of these commentators on YouTube.
Yeah, but there are exceptions to that.
Yeah, I mean, the left itself is pro-war. It's extremely pro-war. It's pro-CIA, pro-deep state. It's really disgusting.
You know whose fault that is, don't you?
Trump's?
Donald Trump.
Yeah, of course.
Because he's the one to bring the troops home.
In case you didn't notice,
and they're starting to come home.
Yeah, Brennan endorsed Biden.
Biden, yeah.
Yeah, Brennan endorsed Biden. If anybody was interested,
because it's all a deep state effort, desperate that it is, to shut down the investigations at the end of the day. And if they can somehow pull off a miracle, those investigations will go away.
Well, we have yet to see. I mean, the Inspector General's investigation was okay, but kind of a dud. Now we have to see whether Durham's investigation and the Senate investigations and the Ukrainian investigation.
Not to mention the Senate investigations.
Yes.
I mean, where's Lindsey Graham?
I know. I haven't heard his name. I've been hearing Portman. I think he's been...
Rob Portman?
Yeah, he's been gathering evidence, supposedly. So...
But they could have been doing that during Mueller's investigation.
I know.
I mean, where's the sense of urgency about this?
I know, because the time is running out. I mean, they could be wrapping up their investigations in November.
Their hope is that the coronavirus will bring down Trump. That's
they want it to be his Katrina.
Yeah. When we announced the first mutation of the coronavirus several weeks ago on this show, we were contemplating every part of this, what could be at stake here. And at the time, it was wide open, and it still is, how they can use this to their advantage.
Yes. Never let a crisis go to waste.
Go to waste. Rob Emanuel.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're watching it.
Yep.
They have no... they're not restrained, or at least by principle, as to how they can proceed, because apparently their side of the aisle has no principle, is not worthy of an honest discussion, or they're so poorly educated that they don't even realize it.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you there. No,
or a combination thereof. I don't know exactly where that is, because it's kind of hard to witness and explain. really. But somewhere in there is the answer to that question.
It's your worldwide invite to Barbecue, the Butcher's Kitchen. Perfection tri-tip.
This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Well, he sits there on his leatherette, looks through pictures of the ones that he hasn't had yet. When he thinks he wants a closer look, he gets out his little black telephone book. He's calling.
Sounds like some other vocalist in there, doesn't it? All right. So we've watched the Weinstein debacle for some time now, and now we've got a sentence this morning.
Yes, 23 years. Yes. And when Weinstein spoke, he sounded like Pee Wee Herman, the Hamburger Man character. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
So we don't really know, do we?
No. It was all consensual, but I feel remorse.
Uh-huh.
You know, that was his statement to the judge.
So he had a potential 29-year sentence, but he only got 23 of the 29 years. So I'm not sure what that means and how those things are decided, but that's a long time.
Yeah. I mean, he's pushing 70 now, right? Mm-hmm. Yes.
And he's one of the Clinton's biggest donors.
Right.
And Obama. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's hard to find anybody that gave more to those people.
I wonder what he knows, or did he just, appear in photo ops with them constantly, or does he know much about what was going on there?
I'm sure he knows everything.
Yes.
Sure he does.
Do you think he'll hang himself?
Well, he certainly got the opportunity. He's in Rikers Island, for Christ's sake. It's almost an invitation to commit suicide.
They're going to room him with a steroid murdering cop.
I don't know how we'd be worse off, but that's for New York to decide, I think. But the Lolita Express. But here's Clinton, Bubba. He's out there now, free. You know, and his rape is effectively beyond the
he's beyond the statute
of limitations. So, I mean,
and he's sorry too.
I'm sure. Yeah,
he's sorry that
he said about Monica.
Yes, I know, but it was therapy for him.
It was because he was so anxious.
I know. Those nasty Republicans were on him, and so he
caused all this anxiety.
And then this little Jewish girl came along and satisfied his anxieties.
So you can hardly blame him,
right?
You know, if you're going.
And she likes cigars too. That's amazing.
As it turns out,
yes.
Yeah. There's a handful of women who like cigars. Yeah.
So I mean. Where are we going to go with the Me Too-ness now? He's basically done for. But
does it have any legs at this point? I mean, I don't. I
know. There's going to be an outbreak sooner or later, but I don't know where.
And we were listening to the King of Hollywood as an intro to this discussion from the Eagles, and apparently Don Henley said that the song was not written for Weinstein. So that means there's somebody else out there.
Oh, I'm sure there is, you know.
Could there be more than one Weinstein in Hollywood?
You know, that casting couch is all over the place. There's one in every dressing room, I think.
Huh.
Yeah. So
who knew?
Yes. But, you know, some of these women, like, I know he's a perv and it's horrible, but on the other hand, you know, why would a young woman go up to somebody's hotel room like that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
To read for him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
You know?
They knew
there was a definite quid pro quo there.
There was an expectation.
Yes, even if it was not consensual, and as he insisted, it was all consensual. They all wanted it.
How bad could it be?
Yes. Well, at any rate, we will be closing the Weinstein chapter, and another chapter will
the
open
next
up.
one. The next chapter out of Los Angeles, I guess. And then Paris. There's another trial expected in Paris.
Oh, do they want him in Paris? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Who did he molest over there?
Yeah, right. So keep that music on hold, Christian, for us, because we'll be revisiting that in the future at some point. But I'm kind of glad he's out of the picture now.
Right. You know,
more important things to talk about.
And I understand Weinstein walkers are going on sale.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh,
they're going to be the next big thing.
Walmart. Oh, my gosh. There's that Jewish-linked humor.
So, what about this virus? I mean, there's a lot of things being said about it. You know, this COVID-19 virus.
You know, that means there were 18 previous versions of this.
Yes. Well, it's a COVID virus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there have been.
So,
yeah, it's a typical
variation
virus.
on the theme.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But one of the interesting things that's brought up is a little bit of a debate between the globalists and the nationalists. Mm-hmm. And the globalists are saying...
I like this discussion.
Yeah, the globalists are saying, well, you see, this is something that's international. You can't contain it. Like, I think the example given was like hackers. Or, you know, it's something that doesn't respect lines drawn on a map. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And but of course the nationalist response is, well, maybe so, but it's those lines on a map provide you the opportunity to do quarantines and exclude people from coming in.
And guess who was opposed to closing the borders for the virus?
Who?
Bernie Sanders, among others.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, he used to be an immigration restrictionist.
He can't win elections that way now.
No, he's changed his tune.
The Democrats need that constant underclass. They need them poor, stupid. They want them here to vote. That's what the open borders are all about. And we've got to understand that that's the reason they're not interested. Some of these that were just a few short years ago interested in controlling the borders are not interested anymore because that's their next wave of voters. Mm-hmm. And they see it that way, and the American people are naive enough to believe this is about human rights or dignity or some of these subcultural issues. But it's really simply about who's going to vote for them in the future. They've lost the American people. They don't have anybody else.
It's all about power, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. So they want the and you know, culturally I don't feel that estranged, especially from the Latino immigrants. But you're right. They see them as potential. It's the old Ann Coulter story. They see them as potential, and the Republicans are trying to counter that by talking about the social issues that would affect Catholic Latinos. And it's also a lot, you know, there's a lot of falsehoods in it, and the fact that Latinos are often entrepreneurs. You know, they
work very hard.
They work very
absolutely,
hard.
Yeah,
we
don't fault them for that.
No,
that's not the issue. And they would like us. They would like to blame us in that way for the fact that they want to live a better life because they come from a putrid country. And who can blame them for wanting to do that? But you have to do it legally, people.
Yeah, and you have to also, like I keep saying, you have to end the war on drugs. You have to stop interfering in our neighbors' elections in Latin America. Let them choose their government for better or for worse, and stop causing these flows.
Massive flows of immigration.
Yes. Yeah. That's one of the best ways to do it. And if there is a real need for agricultural workers, and you and I may disagree about that, and other people may or may not agree with it, but if there is a real need for temporary workers, you can have temporary.
We've had them.
Workers.
With the Bracero program.
Yeah.
I mean, that's doable. It's something we've always had. And then we could also move in the direction of mechanized farming. And that would reduce the need for immigrant flows also. So there's all kinds of things we do, but we're afraid to do them.
Mm-hmm. And since 1965, the demographics in this country have changed very dramatically. And people are right to be wondering why the original Americans, and I'm not really a nativist, but there is a good point to be made, why the original white working class Americans are getting the shaft all the time. And Trump is the first one that has brought that out to the open, and you have to give him credit for that.
And wasn't afraid to.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to give him credit for that.
And so, well, it'll be interesting.
And we do.
Yes, and we do. And, the progressives, they not only don't know about guns, but they don't know about a lot of other things.
What they come from is dreadful, and we can't expect them to get up to speed and assimilate, very quickly. There's just no way they possibly could. So we have to slow this down, make sure that they understand what they're coming to and what they've left. Right. There has to be some sort of an educational environment in the process of emigrating from a foreign state. You leave your culture behind to the extent that you can, that it doesn't interfere with ours, Because you go into San Francisco and you turn on AM radio, every other station is Spanish-speaking. You ever heard that?
Yeah. No, I haven't been to San Francisco that much lately.
And let the marketplace do what, they're there because the market is there. But why is the market there? Why are there so many Spanish-speaking stations in San Francisco? That's the reason.
Yes. And so the answer is usually not to make English the official language, or there are creative ways to do these things.
Right. It shouldn't be necessary to go to legislation on these things.
Right.
These are common sense issues. Anyway, come back for our last segment, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, this is Eddie Floyd. Let me tell you about my favorite non-profit public charity, Wainema Wild Horse Sanctuary, located on the Forsythe Ranch in Hallelujah Junction area. And please go to www.wainemaranch.com. That's WYNEMA ranch.com.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth, the Power of Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. I'm sorry. I had a Biden moment.
Yeah, we'll start calling those Biden moments. Close enough, as I like to say.
Now, not only has the COVID-19 virus crashed the stock market, but on Monday we woke up to an oil price war between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Russian Federation.
Wasn't that something?
Yes. And
as if we didn't have enough going on.
Yeah. And so this is going to deeply impact, if it continues, America's fracking industry, because they cannot sell or extract the oil from the ground as efficiently at all. In fact, if they don't have the money, the price, they need somewhere in around $40, and it's now gone down to about $20. Mm-hmm.
Well, no, it didn't go that low. We were at around $30, I think, and now this morning I think it has come up to about $36, $37.
All right.
So we're on the right track, but I think Trump got on the phone.
Yes, you think so?
To talk to MBS.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened, yeah.
What
are you doing?
Maybe Kushner texted him.
I don't know. but the official correspondence story was that he did speak to him yesterday morning. So,
yeah, and it's called OPEC Plus One. And the original OPEC is really on the verge of collapse anyway.
Yeah.
Yes. They've never really been able to cartelize the industry. Whenever they cut production, somebody sooner or later thinks, one of the countries thinks it's in their best interest to break the rules and up the production again. But
and now that we're a net producer, an exporter,
right,
the whole thing has changed.
Right.
So we really don't have the same configuration anymore. So there has to be a reset here.
Right. And Russia said that they could last, if they have to, for 6 to 10 years with $25 a barrel oil. So why would Russia even say that? Well, there's a lot of things that Russia's been doing that we have not been doing.
Right.
They've eliminated all of their public and private debt. They have very little debt. We are swallowing in debt.
They're net buyers of gold.
Yes, they have enormous gold resources now. They control their rubles. They're not so tied into the international finance system as we are. They are, and
they trade in other than dollars, other than petrodollars, right?
Right, they can with many countries. Yes, they by doing this, they're actually helping China because China's got to recover from this whole coronavirus thing, which they appear to be doing right now. They appear to be starting on
if
the
we
road
can
to
believe their
recovery.
numbers, yeah, they are. Apparently the numbers are being reduced almost on a daily basis. By the way, by the time I got up this morning until I got here to the studio later this morning, there were more than 50 new diagnosed people with the disease.
In America?
Yeah, in the United States.
Okay.
Just like that. 50 more, so we're not
get
done.
those test kits out there because that's the only way we can really get a handle on the situation.
Yeah.
And
because you can walk around for 5 days undiagnosed without symptoms.
Right.
You know, you just anybody walking through our studios here could be
quick. Grab the Purine.
Fortunately, I don't see anybody walking through our studios at the moment. But you know, if we did have people walking through, it just makes you wonder.
Are we going to open the baseball season with empty stadiums?
It looks like there's a good chance of a March Madness without fans in the seats.
In the seats, yeah.
Unbelievable, yeah.
So
it doesn't have any. I don't have a dog in that hunt, but I can see why others might be concerned about that or affected by that.
Right. And, you know, again, they're closing schools when children, at least children under 10, are not getting the disease.
Maybe it'll be a trend towards homeschooling at this point.
Well, that would be good.
There has to be some
that would be
silver
one of the
lining
unintentional
here.
consequences, yes.
Get those kids out of public schools.
And you know, we don't know much about where this disease has come from, even now. And there is the Japanese and Taiwanese scientists, not Chinese, but our allies in Japan and Taiwan, they are saying that the virus actually originated in America.
Which is an interesting theory because, as we talked about earlier on the show and previously on recent shows, this virus has the potential to take down Trump. I don't think it will, ultimately, but it's all they have, I think. You know, there's a desperation about this. And others, Democrat pundits have said so, that we see an opportunity here.
And you never let a crisis go to waste. But yeah, they're hoping that this will turn into be Trump's Katrina that supposedly took down Bush, although it really didn't. But anyway, it gave him a bad name.
Yeah.
And but there's other things that we don't know who it affects because it's politically incorrect to talk about racial and ethnic differences because, after all, that's just a social construct. It doesn't matter. It's not real. But, in fact, we are seeing that the Asian people are the most inclined to get it, and we don't know how many people that have been infected are, in fact, Asian. The second most, the reason is I've seen a peer-reviewed study that came out. It's only one study maybe, but it said that the Asians have a certain receptor in their lungs called the ACE2 receptor that binds with the protein in COVID-19 and makes them more susceptible. This is probably due to the evolution. I mean, the Chinese have had a lot of people living in densely packed areas for thousands of years.
Under difficult circumstances.
Yes, and so they've become immune to things like tuberculosis to a great degree and so on that would have devastated their population, but it leaves them open to new viruses. And so there was a world military exercises or meeting in Wuhan province just a month before the outbreak.
I know.
And there were American people there.
How ironic. Isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
And also, the virology lab in Wuhan has ties to a virology lab in Winnipeg, Canada, and to Harvard. And it's interesting because Harvard, both of them have been under investigation. They're supposedly dealing with trying to figure out what the Ebola virus is all about, but there's speculation that during that they released the COVID-19 virus. And, of course, the Alex Jones people among us are saying that maybe it's a U.S., instead of thinking of it as a Chinese disease, maybe we are attacking China and Iran because the Iranian people, like the Italian people, appear to be susceptible for some reason, more susceptible than the average European or American person.
And are we getting numbers from Latin and South America on this? I haven't seen it.
Nothing. And also Africa. I mean, there are a couple of countries that in Africa that have less than 10 cases, but on the whole, it does not appear to affect, black people that much.
And another part of this is that we're not seeing numbers of those who are recovering.
Yes. Yes, so
I'm not sure why that is either.
And the World Health Organization is not being very helpful.
And they officially called it a pandemic this morning.
Yes, but all right, you can call it a pandemic.
But I think we were already there.
Yeah.
I mean, by that, there is a certain number of countries that are affected. We have 200 recognized nations in the General Assembly of the United Nations. So you get 2/3 of those, and then you have a pandemic. Or, I mean, where does that formula actually kick in?
I know. And so, the Caribbean, Mexico, Latin America does not seem to be very heavily infected, maybe a couple of isolated cases, and that has yet to spread. And Americans as a whole are somewhat more have the ACE2 receptor. Maybe it's because of our, intermarriage and so on with Asians and so on, or whatever the reason is. But it's way down. I mean, the magnitude of the receptors in Asians are supposedly about 5 times more than the average person. And then it drops way down after that. But America could be receptive. We just don't know. So, and if this doesn't mutate into a deadly disease, I mean, it's really seems to be overblown.
Way overblown.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, God forbid that.
Did I mention I washed my hands before the show started?
We don't want to be Monty Python, bring out your dead.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. But it
bubonic plague numbers.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem to be that it's going to do that unless, of course, it does actually mutate into something far worse, in which case, Katie, bar the door. But hopefully this will be over in a couple of months. It's only been 3 months, and China's over. Of course, in their society, which is one reason why the Chinese will laugh at you when you say democracy is better, because they actually believe in their society. Most of them do. And their society was able to respond.
But look what they've come from.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're much better. And the Chinese people travel around the world and they come back to China. It's not like the Soviet Union. No. So
well, I've done my part.
Yes.
I don't order bat soup anymore.
Okay. What, gave it up for Lent?
Does that count? Gave it up for Lent.
Well, we'll see you next week.